We got the news today that Denver sports fans have been waiting for years to receive. The Denver Broncos are, in fact, building a brand new stadium, and it is staying in Denver. After a whole bunch of speculation about where the new stadium could go, would it stay in Denver? Would it go to Lone Tree? Would it end up in Aurora? The Broncos were actively in conversations with 3 different stadium sites, but today, on Tuesday, September 9th, we know for sure the Broncos are going to build at Burnham Yard, the former railroad site based out right off east of I-25 and north of 6th Avenue. All right, a one-time, bustling rail yard decades and decades ago had been left to just sort of rot. It was an absolute nothing area. If we're going to be completely honest with you, it had no use and was just sort of sitting there. And the Broncos very quietly started buying up one parcel of land at a time, one at a time, all with the same LLC that tied back to the Denver Broncos. This became news, maybe 6 months ago. And we learned that the Broncos had actually spent upwards of $150 million acquiring this land. So we knew this could happen. And today we find out for sure. It is staying in Denver. The new stadium will have incredible access to I-25 and the light rail. All right. So from a transportation standpoint, it's got some boxes checked for sure. All right. And they're going to obviously expand and develop the ins and outs of the new stadium. Now, I should say this as well. The announcement today was that the Burnham Yard site is the preferred site for the Denver Broncos. It's not that shovels are going in the ground tomorrow, but you would have to imagine, right, normal deduction skills, that if they're this far along to be announcing a preferred site, it's basically like this is what's going to happen. Whatever the blood brother is from official, that's what the announcement today is. They would not be putting this out there if every indication and sign weren't pointing towards, this thing's going to happen. The mayor has spoken on this. The governor today has spoken on this. Broncos ownership has spoken on this. So this is happening. This is happening. The total footprint as of right now is right around 100 acres. If you're like me and you're like, well, how much is that really? Just think the current stadium site and all the surrounding, parking lots and area over there is around 80 acres. So this thing is going to grow in footprint, and the Broncos fully intend to spend more money and continue buying up land around that area. That is definitely the focus. So it's at 100 acres at the floor. And this isn't going to be just a stadium like it is now at Mile High. Guys, this is going to be a mixed-use developmental area, all right? This is going to be a little city, okay, within a city, all right? Technically, central Denver, someone like myself, I still call it downtown, but it's going to be, again, its own little city center within the city. So also, it's going to have a retractable roof, according to Broncos owner Greg Penner. This is, someone like myself, this is what I wanted. This was one of the number one things, a retractable roof. What is that going to do? It's going to open up Denver, Colorado for year-long mega events, not just using it during football season, okay? It gets cold around here. It can get snowy. You can close the roof when you want to close the roof because, I don't know, maybe the Final Four is going to come to Denver, Colorado. Maybe WrestleMania is going to come to Denver, Colorado. The world of possibilities just explodes when you add in the retractable roof, which is very, 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 very expensive, which is why a lot of organizations don't build them. But this ownership group has the most wealth in the history of professional football. In fact, the Walton Penner family ownership group is worth so much money at number one that the gap between number one and number two in the NFL, which is Dave Tepper in Carolina, the gap between the wealth of the Broncos and the Carolina Panthers, that gap is actually more money than number two is actually worth. Try to process that level of wealth. We're talking about over $80 billion, okay? The NFL has never seen an ownership group with the wealth of someone like Greg Penner and this current ownership group. So They have the wealth to add that retractable roof. And the emphasis that Greg Penner put on this today in quotes to the Denver Post is the plan is on most game days to have the roof open and have the elements of Denver, Colorado, which has played a role here since 1960 with the Denver Broncos, still remaining a factor on most game days. But on days where they don't want to, where it's just maybe a little bit too extreme, all right, if they want, they can close it. It's their choice. It's this ownership group's choice. And I'm sure they'll work with someone like Sean Payton and future coaches on when exactly they will and won't do those things. Another detail, no tax dollars are going to be hit. This is going to be private equity, okay? So they're not going to ask the community, which would be a bad look anyway, with their level of wealth that we just described, to then have the handout to the community. It's not going to work like that, all right? They are going to pay for it, and private equity will I'm sure, help them pay for it. They still have to work through community groups, guys, environmental groups, zoning processes, city councils, commissions to appease. So there's still going to be a lot of red tape here in front of this thing. But what they did also mention in the announcement today is they are going to, and I had advocated for this on the air, they are going to mix in a lot of the past stuff from Burnham Rail Yard. Okay, they're just not going to knock down everything. So they're going to blend the past with the present and look towards the future. For an example, there's a diesel locomotive shop. From what I understand, the plan is to take that and repurpose it and still use some of the foundation there in place. And like I said, blending the past with the present with an eye on the future. Greg Penner, Broncos owner, said it'll be a mix of having housing, office, retail, and entertainment. The goal is to create something that is active on game day, but also the rest of the year. And if you think of like these different places around the country, like the Deer District in Milwaukee, the Battery in Atlanta, like these are bustling year-round places where the ballpark or the field is the centerpiece of it, but all the surrounding restaurants, comedy clubs. Like I went to Gillette in New England. Guys, there's multiple steakhouses, multiple bars, a shopping center, a hospital, a hotel, a bowling alley. I mean, it's insane. It is its own little city, as I mentioned before. And while it might not be as big as someone like Patriot Way there in Foxborough, this is going to be much bigger and a larger footprint and just more activity than we're used to. You go to a game at Mile High, it's just the stadium and parking lots, and you stay in the parking lot and drink and then go into the game. This is going to be much different than that. All right, very current. This Broncos ownership group went around the country to all these different stadiums and developments and took notes for the last few years. And we knew they were doing this. And this is what they finally came up with. The mayor said that the new stadium is going to be at least 3 times the economic impact of the current Mile High. So that's good for the health and the financial well-being of Denver, Colorado. And the 80 acres that is currently on the current site, that's going to revert back to the city of Denver. All right. And the mayor called it a once in a century opportunity, developmental opportunity, that here you have all this land being given back to the city. What are they going to do with it? We have no idea. But this is very exciting. All right. It's a huge, huge announcement that we've waited years for, and we got it today. The Broncos are staying in Denver, and they're going to do it big. Greg Penner says the new stadium is going to have all the bells and whistles. And if that's coming from someone worth $80 billion, what do you think that means for the average person like you and me? All right, it's going to be a massive, massive project. It's going to take probably 5 years to fully build and have it come into focus. The floor of the project is $4 billion. My anticipation is this thing is going to burst through $5 billion, maybe even hit $6 billion. Don't worry. This Broncos ownership group knows what they're doing. They'll make all that money back. You already know that. But huge news for Denver. I think huge news for the state of Colorado. Very exciting. We're going to continue to gather information. But I'll tell you, the future of the football team seems to be ascending, but the future of the game day and maybe even year-round experience around this new facility is very exciting and on an upward trajectory. And it feels like all things are possible, and the sky is the limit with this ownership group. That's the news. Broncos staying in Denver. Massive project is going to be underway, and hopefully folks like you and I and our kids for generations will be able to benefit from this massive announcement today. Guys, thanks for being here. I humbly ask you to rate, like, leave a comment. I'd love to interact with you in the comments. And ultimately, please, I humbly ask, subscribe to this channel, Denver Day to Day with Zach By. And you'll hear more from me tomorrow.